What is the 18th thing that I would do differently if I were going to college today? I would complete my education in one fell swoop. Hi, I'm Passion Darby, and 31 years ago, almost to date, I was an 18-year-old young woman, and I decided that I was going to college no matter what. And I did go to college that fall. It was fall of 1993. And so now here I am, 31 years later, and I have amassed a vast amount of information, wisdom, and experience that I will be sharing with today's college goers through this channel. So, what is the 18th thing that I would do differently if I were going to college today? I would complete my education in one fell swoop. Why is this important to me, and why is this a regret that I have? Well, I have always loved school. I've always enjoyed school. I've always had my best experiences in school. And I remember as a child, probably not even more than 4 or 5 years old, saying to myself, I am going to go the farthest I can in education. And at that time, I really meant that because I was surrounded by people who I thought were very brilliant, like my mother and my father and my grandmother. I also was attending a school called Westside Preparatory School, which was established by a Black woman named Marva N. Collins on the west side of Chicago. And I wanted to be just like my teachers. They were so smart, they were so beautiful, and they were just the most well dressed and well groomed and distinguished Black women that I knew outside of my immediate family. And I wanted to be like them. And so I felt at that time, that young age, that in order for me to be like them, I would have to acquire the highest level of education. So I promised that to myself. And over time, of course, as I grew older, and particularly as I matriculated through college, I realized that me acquiring the highest level of education would mean a doctorate degree. Okay. So I began to set my sights on that. But to be honest with you, by the time I figured that out, I was already very, very lost. So this is my education story. I earned a bachelor's of arts in mass media arts from Clark Atlanta University because I wanted to, at that time, be a newscaster. And that was my intention when I enrolled in that academic major. So that was my first degree. 2 years later, I realized that I was not prepared to enter that field. So I decided to return back to school with the vision of my childhood commitment of gaining as much education as I could. And I wanted to further my education in communication studies, which is the same thing as mass media arts, with a concentration in writing, television writing, film writing, because that is what my strength was. I was a good writer. I still am a good writer. So I went to California State University, Los Angeles, where I earned a master's degree in communication studies with a concentration in film/script writing. Now, that was probably two of the best years of my life, but we'll talk about that in another video. So while that might have been the wrong move academically, it was the right move in so many other areas of my life. When I returned back to Chicago, which I should not have done, I should not have done that. And I was warned by both my professors and my friends out in Los Angeles to not return back to Chicago and to stay in Hollywood, where I was interning with Paramount Pictures. I was warned to stay there and continue to advance in television writing because I was really good at it. But I really wanted to come home because, if I'm not mistaken, that was shortly after 9/11 occurred. And I was afraid, to be honest with you. I was afraid to be that far away from my family because it scared me when the planes the airport shut down, and I felt like, wow, what if something happens and I cannot get home to my family? So it scared me, and I did return home. And to be honest with you, that is one of the biggest regrets of my life, returning back to Chicago at that particular time in my life. So I spent the next several years being super lost, super confused, in desperate need of guidance, and growing more and more resentful by the day. And so once I decided that I needed to pull myself together and that nobody was coming to save me, I started to think more deeply about my direction. And I started to remember the dream that I had for myself to earn as much education as I could. So I went and I asked someone who was working at Northwestern University as the Dean of Graduate Studies in the engineering department. And I asked him, I said, I want to earn a PhD in higher education because I really like working with students. I really like helping preparing them for college. And that gentleman told me, you need to first start with your master's degree in higher education and then go into the PhD. Okay. So I did that because, again, I did not have any other guidance. So I believed what he said. I later learned that I didn't need to do that. I later learned that I could have just gone into a PhD program in higher ed and not earned another master's. But I did go and I did earn a master's in adult and higher education from Northern Illinois University. Once I figured out that that was the wrong mistake, I felt like I needed to come out of school and start making money because I felt like I had kept making mistakes academically because I had so little guidance. And I started to study money. And one of the things that I learned about money was that if we are going to be going to earn college degrees, we should be earning them in skills, not in studies. And the difference from my perspective is that a skill is something that you can take and monetize. Studies is just like philosophies. It's just someone else's perspective or perspectives or literature reviews or literature period on a particular topic, which you do not need to get a degree in order to study. You can just simply read. And so once I understood that, I shifted my paradigm and I decided to return back to my roots. And this was about the time when I was like beginning to reconnect with myself. And to be honest with you, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even write this down on my notes, but now that I'm thinking about it, the turning point for me was when I was actually helping a friend of mine who owns a bookstore with a project she was doing. And she was telling me that she wanted to write an article on Marva Collins, the woman who owned my elementary school. And I told her, that was great. And I told her I can tell her about the culture at Westside Preparatory School and all those things. And I can also edit her article for her. And so she said, I want to send you this documentary that I found on Marva Collins called Success, the Marva Collins story. And can you look at it and just help me to understand what the culture was based on that video? And so I watched the video. And do you all know I was in the video, me and my sister? And at first it took me a while. It took a while for it to click with me because of course I didn't immediately recognize my 5-year-old self. I mean, this was only a few years ago. And when I noticed that me and this other girl in that classroom on the video, on the documentary, had on the same shirt, I said, oh my God, that's me and my sister. And then as I looked closely in on myself and I zoomed in on myself, I noticed, of course, it was me. And that really changed my trajectory because when I saw myself, I wept. And I said, what was her dreams? I remember her. I've lost so I've gotten so off track that I forgot that beautiful little girl who was so focused, so driven, so open-hearted, so kind, just wanted to learn, just wanted to be educated, just wanted to be free. And somewhere along the lines, I lost that vision. What were her dreams? And I began to ask myself that question. And the more that I asked myself that question, I began to just make new plans. And so, one of the things I said I was going to do was go back to school to earn a skill set, because I was no longer interested in just studying anything. I wanted to make a what I considered a lucrative salary so that I can focus on my dream of entrepreneurship, because that was my childhood dream. I also decided that I was going to reconnect with my mother's standards for me. And my mother's standards for me was to go to the top, send me to the top schools in the city. Marva Collins Westside Preparatory School was the top school in the city at the time, the top elementary school. So I said, I'm going to return back to those roots that my mother set for me, and I'm going to attend the number one public research institution in my state. And I did that by coming to and enrolling in University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. So with that and with this new knowledge, I wrote out a diligent plan for myself. And then I got to work on that plan. And I was extremely successful with acquiring the skill set of learning design and technology. And that is what I earned my third master's degree in. Now, I'm proud of that because I course corrected. But let me help you not have to course correct. I am going to tell you what I would have done differently, and then I'm going to give you some tips so that you can just do things differently from the start. Number one, how would I have done this differently? I would have earned a bachelor's, because honestly, by that time, by the time that I was at Clark Atlanta, I was already in the mess. I was already in the mess of just trying to go to college, not even knowing my way, not having any direction. So, since I was already in the mess, I would have just gone ahead, earned my bachelor's in mass media arts, and I would have gone straight from that undergraduate experience into a master's in communication studies. And because I don't regret earning my first master's degree. I enjoyed that very, very much. Then I would have just gone straight into a doctorate degree at that same institution, California State University, Los Angeles, or UCLA, University of UCLA, California, Los Angeles, UCLA. I love that campus, by the way. I've been there many times, so I do know what I'm talking about. I just have to think for a minute. So I would have gone, I probably would have leveled up and gone to UCLA, but I still would have gone directly into a doctoral program. In the midst of that, which would have been about an 8 to 10 year span, I would have been building my business. That is the second thing I would have done differently. So I would have gone and earned my degrees, because that is a commitment I made to myself as a child. And I don't mind going to college. A lot of people don't like to go to school. I don't see the problem with it. I love to learn. And I made that commitment. So yes, I would have honored that commitment, and I still would have earned my PhD. But I would have started my business at the same time. I would have started my business from my freshman year in college, and I would have just built it over the next 8 to 10 years. And I would have used tuition waivers and scholarships, which I had plenty of, to pay my way while I built my business and lived as a broke college student, even though I was not a broke college student, but I would have lived that way. So that is the way that I would have done. And then when I would have graduated from my doctorate degree, I would have used my academic credentials to teach at a historically Black college or university, probably Clark Atlanta University or Spelman College or Howard University, because I love to teach. I'm a natural teacher, and I love to help some college students, particularly Black college students. And then I would have still continue to run my business full time and let that be my full time income. I would not have taught full time. So that is what I would have done, and I would have lived happily ever after. Because I did not know to do that, I am in the process of doing a whole bunch of course correction. And I've been doing course correction for the last 6 years. And like I said, it's been working out. I've learned a lot and I've been applying these strategies that I'm teaching you to my own life, and I've been winning. So now let me help you win without having to go through what I've gone through. 1 second, let me find my notes. So, number one, I think I have 10 ways that you cannot do this. Yes, I think I have 10 ways. Number one, land with a plan. I tell my college students this all the time when I'm teaching first year at college experience or freshman orientation courses, which is one of my favorite things to teach. Land with a plan. Do not come to the college campus without a plan. Sit down with yourself first before you even sit down with your parents. And why is that important? You need to hear yourself think. I had plans for myself way before I shared them with my parents. I was a child having these dreams at night and these talks with God at night as a child, like 4 and 5 years old, as I said. And when I see myself on that documentary, which I watch often now to remind myself of my dreams, I see how focused I was. And my parents were nowhere around. They had dropped me off at school, of course, that day, but it wasn't like I was trying to be a good student because my parents were in the room. No, I was a good student because that's my natural characteristic. That is who I am naturally. I was raising my hand. I was trying to participate. I was focused. Some of my classmates who I still know today and still love today, they were not as focused as I was. I was focused because that's my natural state. So I want you to land with a plan and start that plan by yourself. Sit with yourself first and hear your own thoughts. Once you've done that, then you sit with your parents or your caregivers and you all collaborate on that plan. You need at least a 10-year plan. Because just in case you would decide you want to go to medical school or you want to go to law school or you want to develop a trade and just go to community college, I still would, if I were your advisor, I would still like to see your 10-year vision for your life. And you need to see your 10-year vision for your life so that you can stay on track and so you can monitor yourself should you fall off track. Number two, understand that you are going to college to acquire a skill, not study a field. This is a mistake that I see a lot of Black students make, to be honest with you. And their parents. I see us coming to college thinking that it's okay in 2024 to come and study anything outside of a skill, and that's not okay anymore. You need to study a skill, not something that you can read about on your own. So for instance, if you're studying something like, let me think, I'm trying to think of a good example, philosophy. If you were my student, I would advise you not to do that because that is not lucrative for you. So I would like to see us study whatever the trends are in the labor force. Who's hiring? That is what you study, a skill. So when you graduate, you can walk away with a skill set and make sure that it is a profitable skill set and an essential skill set. So when things go wrong, like the pandemic that we recently experienced, you will still be able to earn income. Income is the name of the game now, not college degrees. The college degree is only a means to the income ends. Keep that in mind. Number three, earn your degrees consecutively. Why is this important? Because you're only young once. At least well, let me start that over. You're only this young once. And you have the rest of your life to work, as my father told me when I first graduated. Very good advice. You have the rest of your life to to be unfocused. But while you are accustomed to being focused, while you're accustomed to not earning a lot of money, while you are accustomed to being a student, be a student, get it done, and get it done fast. Get it done consecutively and stay focused. Number 4, seek dual degree programs, even at the graduate level. And so I met this guy when I was at Northern Illinois University, and I noticed that he was not around us, the people who, me and my colleagues or my friends who used to hang out and, go out on the weekends and stuff like that. And one day he and I was talking, and and all of our tuition were paid through a graduate assistantship. So none of us was paying tuition. And I said, "You're never around. What you got going on?" And he said, "Oh, I'm trying to earn 2 master's degrees under this tuition waiver." I was like, why did nobody ever tell me that? That now, if that is not a college hack, I don't know what is. Nobody had ever told me that, LaPassion Darby, you have a tuition waiver. Get all the degrees you can get under that waiver. And I had never even thought about that. So I thought that was really brilliant that he used our one tuition waiver to earn 2 master's degrees. So do things like that. If you have a scholarship that scholarship to death. If you have a tuition waiver, leverage it. I did this in my very last program because I learned that from that young man, and it worked out. So consider that. Number 5, position yourself to not pay tuition. So I learned the game after my first master's degree. And my first master's degree, I paid tuition because I didn't know any better. But at Northern Illinois University, I paid no tuition. And at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, I paid 0 tuition, and I traveled around the world using that tuition waiver. So I learned the game. I'm teaching you the game right now. Leverage that game. Number 6, shut your mouth and work your plan. I know this is hard for young people to do. When I was young, it was hard for me to do. But learn how to be quiet in the college context, because you don't know who's listening, particularly if you are a Black student. Sometimes people, this is just me being realistic with you. Sometimes people will try to sabotage or set barriers in front of you and your goals. So you can't tell everybody your goals. You can tell some people, but not everybody. So learn to shut your mouth and work your plan. I've had to learn this on my own. I really have had to learn this on my own. So I'm not telling you something that I don't practice myself now. But when I was your age, or what I assume is your age, I did not know to do this. And thankfully, I was attending HBCUs in my undergrad, so I could share my goals without feeling retaliated against or feeling any threat. But when I went into the PWI atmosphere, I had to learn to shut my mouth and work my plan. And so I'm advising you to do the same. Number 7, take the path of least resistance. Let's have a talk. Listen, I can only speak for my community because that is where I come from. So from my perspective, in the Black community, we have this issue where we are told, or we are conditioned to feel like we have to struggle. I'm learning now to reprogram your mind. You do not have to struggle. Take the path of least resistance. Don't put yourself in a position of struggle and hurt and anger and upset and make life harder for you than it needs to be. You deserve an easy life too. So consider that when you are pursuing your college degrees. If something is too hard for you, or the context, or the people in the context is making it too hard for you, you can consider leaving. Go where you're treated best. I learned that from Nomad Capitalist, that YouTube channel. That's a good channel, by the way. Check it out. But go where you're treated best. So if you feel resistance, or it's becoming too hard for you to do what you're trying to accomplish, don't be afraid to get off the path and go to a different path that is going to be easier for you. Embrace ease. There's nothing wrong with Black people having an easy way out or through. Okay, we got to recondition our minds from that. Let's see, what number am I on? Number 8, go to the best school for fulfilling your plan. So I did that. Finally, I did that. Now, let me say, I learned that when I transferred to Clark Atlanta. So I did learn to go to the school to that best fulfill my plan, but I mastered it with University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign had every single resource I needed for my plan, and I mastered using their resources for my plan, and it worked out for me. So my advice to you is to study the school, compare it, like use the set your plan up right next to the website and make a checklist. Make sure that everything on your plan can be achieved through that campus. If it cannot, look for their affiliate campuses. If that doesn't work, leave that campus alone and go to a campus that can fulfill your dreams and your plan. Number 9, start a business while you are pursuing your academic plan. Because no matter what, you still need to own yourself. No matter what degrees that you have, you need to get into the habit of self ownership young. So go ahead and start your business, any business that is going to be profitable and make you happy. And remember, pursue it with ease. We're not trying to have stressful lives anymore. We're done with that, okay? And number 10, put your life on hold until you complete. Let me take a step back. Put your relationship life on hold until you complete your plan. Now, okay, I can hear people saying, but Passion, I'm young. It's college. We're supposed to date. No, you're not supposed to do anything. You've been conditioned and programmed to think you're supposed to date because it's college. Now you can date, and we'll talk about that in another video. But I don't think that college students should be engaged in serious relationships, and I certainly don't think that people who have not achieved financial freedom should be focused in on relationships at all. Okay, so I know that's controversial and I might get a lot of pushback from that, but that's my belief system because of what I've learned and the wisdom that I have gained. But let's go back to college. While you are pursuing your college plans, consider putting your dating life on hold and focus. Change the word dating or the concept of dating to socializing. You can still socialize because like even when I went to California State University in Los Angeles, I can't imagine what my time there would have been without the social aspect. I had so much fun out there. I really, really did. But did I need to be in a relationship? No, I did not. I did not need to be in a relationship. It would have been enough for me to just have a social life because I had the best friends out there, because I had the best resources for fun out there, which I will share with you all in another video. I had so many exciting things happen for me out there just socializing, and that would have been enough. So I'm just asking you to consider putting your dating life on hold and serious relationships on hold until you achieve your goal so that you can focus and get it done. And you don't have to earn a PhD as a closing remark. That was my dream. Your dream might only require you to earn a bachelor's degree. So your dating life would only be on hold for 4 years, or your dream might require you to just achieve an associate's degree. So your dream might be on hold for only 2 years. So don't panic. Just understand that you need to focus while you're in college and achieve the goal. It's serious out here, you all. And I can't say that no one told me that it was serious, but I don't think that anybody, because my father did have that talk with me briefly when I was 23, but no one told me how serious, and no one kept drilling it into my head. And I needed it drilled into my head because I had an easy and fluffy life growing up. So I needed somebody to tell me over and over again, once you get into the world, is hard. I needed that. So I'm telling you all what I needed to hear, which is once you get out into the real world, you need all of your weapons fighting for you. You need all of your armor. And one of the best, two of the best, three of the best pieces of armor are your financial freedom, your entrepreneurial freedom, so your professional freedom, and your education. Thank you so much for listening, and please go to college.